Hey folks, and welcome to the NEEC. I'm Aaron Yodroid Yoder here, bringing you the University of
Come
Delaware,
on, I'll
University
just
of
be over here,
Pennsylvania
sharpening my
semifinals match
feathers.
for the Northeastern Esports Conference. I
Tyrant.
am here with my co-caster. Say hello to the people.
Right.
We are super excited to bring you this. Let's just jump right into bans real quick. Right now, we've got University of Delaware already blown out of the water. The Lee Sin taking out the Zaya, taking out the
You
Caitlyn. On the
lost a
opposite
day
side,
in the
we've got
void.
Kazakhs being banned, along with Irelia and yeah, okay, all right, that makes sense. Kaisa being taken off the table as well. Uh,
Okay, here we go. Technical difficulties with my mic. My bad, guys. Um,
he's back. By the way, this is Hans.
yeah,
Say
my
hi.
name is Hans. I apologize. My mic was muted during my introduction. But to cover these bans, these are some good bans. We've seen Caitlyn banned a lot. Zaya's also been a real top tier ADC lately, along with Kaisa definitely rising up now that people know how to build her correctly. But we are going to be seeing that nice Tom Kinch pickup on over to the side of University of Pennsylvania. Um, what's great about Tom Kinch is that lately people have realized that they can take Quicksilver Sash on Tom Kinch since he can eat the ADC or whoever's in trouble out of trouble. Making people focus on maybe using something on him. Then he pops QSS, gets people, away to safety. And with this Jhin pick, it's going to be very nice, and it looks like they're going to be trying to counter that with Draven and Morgana.
The Draven is kind of an interesting pickup, I think. Not really something you see in a lot of competitive play because of how telegraphed it is. But I like it paired with the Morgana, really. Like being able to throw that spell shield on, especially when you're running into a Tom Kench and a running to Tom Kench and Jin, both like heavily spell reliant, right? I think it gives them a little bit more of an edge. So I don't know. I kind of like that
We await
it's
our
sort of an edgy
time.
pickup.
Indeed, it's definitely more of a risky pickup for sure.
Yeah.
Just because if they don't get that Draven rolling, it's going to be real hard to keep them
I'll
ahead
be
if it
friendly.
gets into the mid game there. Something that
Right,
we do
exactly.
need to point out is this Nocturne pick. Excuse me. Um, Nocturne is not a jungler that's been exactly picked a lot, been very popular. So it's going to be really interesting to see how University of Pencil utilizes him, along with them trying to focus out the jungle right now, banning away that Skarner, who's been a very strong pick lately.
Do not
And then
confuse
they're going to be banning
cowardice
away that
for
Swain
wisdom.
to try and take a very strong top pick over from the side of University of Delaware.
Yeah, I really like University of Pennsylvania's bands right now. They're playing this very smart, and since I'm guessing these two teams don't necessarily have a lot of information on each other, being able to kind of ban out the OPs is sort of the way to go. Um, so with how much play Kha'Zix has been getting, I mean the recent Irelia changes and whatnot, and Swain being a pain lately, like they're all really smart bands, and so it's nice to be able to see that. How do you interpret the composition coming out of University of Delaware right now? Though I mean, like how is this striking you? Do you think they're responding very well to what they're seeing on University of Pennsylvania?
I think they're doing all right. I mean, you did see that first pick for mid lane.
Hmm.
So I think that the bot lane picks, like we talked about, are compensating pretty well. Um, I'm kind of trying to understand this Heimerdinger pan that came across from them. Um, but
I'm
they
guessing
did
that was a
ban that
targeted ban.
Cho'Gath,
Right.
which is a very strong top laner right now that has been doing well against other tanks.
Mhm.
So after them banning out that Swain and banning out Cho'Gath, those are like two real strong top laners right now. I do like them picking up this Trundle here as I believe a counter to Nocturne in the jungle. I feel like he's going to be very big in team fights. Um, through like the early game, pretty decent with ganking, at least blowing summoner spells with his pillar. Um,
Mhm.
but in the late game, I wouldn't be surprised if Delaware focuses more on utilizing that Trundle as a split pusher and using a like 4-man maybe push mid setup with Trundle on one of the off lanes shoving.
Right. I'm actually I'm a little confused as to the response from University of Pennsylvania. Grant, I like it, but both teams have drafted into more of a team fight oriented comp, right? I mean, you picked up the Ornn. The only reason you pick up Ornn is because you want a team fight. You pick up the Vigar, also really good, has that massive AoE stun. Nocturne doesn't necessarily fit into that style of composition so well. Like I think they would have probably been better off picking something like a Sejuani, but I see the point. Um, I guess I am just confused as to what University of Pennsylvania has up their sleeve here because looking at the two teams, I'm gonna give the edge to University of Delaware, just
Uh,
strictly based off of the Trundle, the Gnar, and the Talia being able to beat such heavy zone controllers. Right. On top of it, you got Morgana sitting in the back line, who has zone control of their own. On top of the ultimate that you can throw down to make sure that the other team scatters.
well, something that you do have to take into account for here is that if they are going to be using that Trundle for the side lane push potential,
Mhm.
that's leaving University of Delaware with only having one tank in the front line. They're going to be having that Gnar. Hopefully, by the time a team fight happens, he has Mega Gnar ready. Is Talia is going to
Right.
be trying to zone the best that she can along with Morgana, but Talia, Morgana, and Draven are essentially all about the same distance away from the team fight. Whereas if you look over to the side of University of Pennsylvania, you have that Tom Kinch, that Nocturne, and that Ornn as the frontline tanks. If Nocturne builds tankier, I know that used to be the deal. It's really going to be dependent on how free XP here actually builds the Nocturne. But he's still
Right.
a melee, so in order to do damage or anything at all, he's going to need to be on the front lines. You're going to have that Ornn ultimate to engage very well, that Tom Kinch ultimate to get someone in there. Um, as well as that Nocturne ultimate to just ult on to the back line of Delaware, which in turn would make them focus away from peeling and try and take care of Nocturne so that essentially they have, if Nocturne's has enough damage or is tanky enough, he can either take out and almost assassinate a backline target, or at least focus on a bit of a 3v1. Again, this is all assuming Trundle split pushing. And
Right.
then he has his team, either someone trying to get to the backline with him or 4v1ing that Gnar. And then if Nocturne dies or survives, by the time Gnar dies, that's a 3v4 right there. And University of Delaware only has their backline and no frontline or peel.
Assuming that University of Delaware plays this a smart way, and this is the only reason that I'm kind of thinking that University of Delaware is looking for a 5-man fight. Um, Assuming that they're playing this, uh, what I would call intelligently, they won't have Trundle split pushing only because Trundle doesn't have the teleport available. Right into the dusk is the jungler actually executing this Trundle. Right, I'm hoping that what they'll do is have him migrate with the team and then have Rito Gods Please teleporting into those fights. But I'm not sure because if they do what you're saying, you're right. It puts them at a massive disadvantage. To have Nocturne on the prowl, being able to jump onto their backline and having their backline be so open with only having Gnar, who I mean honestly, your Mega Gnar, if they time their fights right, he'll have that available, but that's not always going to be up. So they're not 100% safe all of the time. You know, that's
Indeed.
I think my biggest concern. Um, for the University of Delaware team. But I mean, that being said, so are you which team are you kind of like leaning towards here? Which team do you really think is going to be able to take away this first game?
Well,
By
I
the way, guys, this
personally,
is a best of five, so I don't think we covered that earlier, but best of five, seven match, and so that's what we're watching here.
I think it really depends on how the early game goes. I definitely think that University of Delaware has the better potential here. Um, I remember last week we had a semifinal match with Drexel. It was another conference semifinal, I believe. And Drexel utilized a split pushing Trundle so effectively, and the rest of their team was able to essentially 4v5 and kite back and give their Trundle that time there. It was just. One sec. Here we go.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, you cut out there a little bit.
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to get some of this stuff working well, but
Yeah, no worries. Let's see. I'm a little biased, but I'm kind of excited to see how East Coast Carry actually holds up this Draven. Because I mean, I've seen East Coast Carry play a few times. I think the last time I saw him play, he was on Zaya, and he absolutely shredded through the enemy team. The guy is a really solid, AEC. So it's going to be interesting to see him play something like this. And I'm for once super excited on that.
I do want to point out the masteries that we have here. We have Nar sitting on that fleet footwork to definitely, I think, help him out earlier with a little bit of sustain, but also just trying to probably poke and get some damage down on Richie over here in the top lane on the Ornn. We also do have Draven taking the new Conqueror rune, which has been doing really well on Draven lately. Despite it not having the advantage of resetting like on a melee champion, he's been doing really well in the bottom lane, and I think that in the early game he may try and go for a couple trades, but he's definitely not gonna try and overstay his welcome unless he really thinks he can get that kill.
Right. I mean, honestly, that attack damage steroid is so helpful to somebody like Draven who's looking to bully out so early on in the game. I mean, because if I'm not mistaken, you get what 10 AD early on if you're able to use that effectively, and so going into somebody like Jhin who starts off fairly weak, having that much early attack damage available gives you such an edge in lane, and it's gonna be super annoying for Michael Guac down there.
Indeed.
So yeah, I'm fairly excited about that. Plus, I haven't really seen people play with the Quicksilver Sash Tom Kench all that much, and so that should be pretty exciting. Looking at the jungle pass though, looks like we've got junglers on opposite sides of the map. I'm kind of excited to see how these guys decide to prioritize their lanes.
The stream is frozen.
It is.
Oh. That's
unfortunate.
That's unfortunate.
I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Let me see. There we go. Is that working now? Word. Sorry about the technical difficulties, y'all. I believe that we fixed the problem.
Hey man, just remember, we got 5 games to get this right.
Yeah. Something that we do have to check out, I know that we were talking about the positions for the junglers right now. Trundle did go for an easy invade on the Krugs on the side of University of Pennsylvania here. It'll be interesting just because of Gnar pushing up so much. I don't think he's going to go for a gank. We do have Nocturne walking down that top side trying to go for his Krugs. We do actually have them coming in here.
Also make it full
Into
screen
the dust.
borderless.
Coming in. I didn't think Into the Dust could actually be going for that either. But he is not shy about being a little bit aggressive and really wants Richie to know that, hey, I'm here. You can't go up too far. Don't be trying to push too far. Otherwise, I'm going to be right on top of you. So it's interesting to be able to see a jungler exercising that kind of dominance and visibility on the map. So, especially because that means now that he could probably start swinging down to the bot side. Of course, you know, University of Pennsylvania knows he's going to end up backing, but that puts him here on the bot side and actually in a pretty good position to retaliate in the mid lane if they decide to punish the push that's coming out of person.
Indeed, something that's going to be also real interesting to watch, just because of how they started, and with that gank on the top side. You would almost think Trundle would be trying to focus bottom lane, but he's actually, or sorry, top lane, but he's already coming in for a gank in the bottom lane.
Right. Dewey already using that flash trying to get away. There's the exhaust coming out of Night Stealth. Looks like a few more auto attacks should take him down. There's the flash forward from East Coast Carry, but it's not going to be enough. The heal from Michael Kwok will end up saving his support. Now it looks like Michael Kwok trying to turn this fight back around. Into the dust, walks back for a little bit more, but they're going to be trying to engage. University of Pennsylvania coming out a little bit ahead of that fight.
Indeed, they were actually really capable of fending off that gank there. They did blow the heal from Jin just to make sure that Jin lived there. To make sure Tom lived there. And Tom did blow his flash. But I mean, in the end, they blew all 4 summoners in the bot lane on the side of University of Delaware. I definitely think that they actually came out on top of that gank.
Yeah, really, they did. I don't think that Into the Dusk should have been down there just yet. I'm not sure if there was a communication error, but it didn't look like his bot lane was quite prepared. I know right before we were saying that it was interesting that he was even down there, since it looked like he was going to be trying to pressure the top lane a lot. But if that gank had a little bit more time to be prepared, right, I think they would have found a little more success. So I'm kind of interested. Do you think he's going to go back here within the next few minutes?
Possibly. I think both junglers may be trying to focus a little bit in the bot lane just for now, just due to the fact that that first dragon is an infernal, and both teams could really utilize that. I mean, you have a Vigar who's going to be stacking AP, where the infernal would help him out, of course, along with that that Jin, who's like almost every single aspect that he builds, movement speed, and attack speed, actually count as a multiplier for his AD, and that Infernal Drake's just going to do more to it. So it would be really bad to let University of Pennsylvania have it. And I think that's also why Into the Dusk was trying to focus on the bot lane there while he was down there a little too early. He saw Pennsylvania pushed up so much. He was trying to force that gank, and I think try and turn it into that dragon before Nocturne could make it down there.
Right. So yeah, so maybe it was less of pulling the trigger too early and just maybe being a little too proactive. So ooh, it looks like we're gonna have some action coming in from the mid lane though. Herson coming in. Michael Kwok will bust flash in order to get out. Herson locked up a little bit. The black shield going down onto him. Looks like East Coast Carry is now the new target. First Blood going over to 3 XP here. Richie coming down for a little bit of action as well. Will pick up a double kill for himself as Herson and Night Stealth go down in the wake of the carnage. Yikes, not a great start for University of Delaware.
Something that we do want to point out is that I mean, at least like we were talking about with that kind of forced bot lane jungle gank on the side of Delaware, it almost looks like they forced that roam a little bit from Talia. You saw her blow her ult a little too early. They weren't actually able to zone them completely out of their lane. It was just like getting her there a little bit faster, and they just weren't able to focus that damage down. Is something that I feel like they've failed to do, or is focused Jin, because they've been trying to focus on getting that damage down onto Tom Kinch, and he just keeps constantly living through that damage, allowing Jin just to get his as many auto attacks in as he wants.
Right, exactly. Well, going up here to the top lane, a gank being pulled off. Into the dust will be forced to flash away. Richie, however, picking up that kill for himself. Rito, God please, now chasing Richie into the jungle. Yikes, missed the auto attack. Canceled that one before he was able to do anything. Richie taking a lot of damage, but gaining a whole lot back. It looks like Mini Dewey coming up here, trying to get a little bit for his team. The flash forward over the wall will end up securing the kill. Onto the top lane of Delaware. Looks like bye-bye, Gnar. Not looking you anymore.
Indeed. I mean, something that going back to that play bottom lane, even though they had that roam from Talia and that ult coming in trying to cut off the lane, it was a great response from Ornn with his teleport behind them that just stacked up with Nocturne's ult in, and they were just able to focus East Coast carry down as they already made Talia burn her flash with Tom using his ignite on her, and Jin just, like I said, with them with Delaware focusing on Tom Kinch, the only person trying to that was close enough for trying to do damage to Jin was actually Talia. So
yeah,
with as little damage as she was able to get across, and Jin kind of being able to sidestep her Q, he just popped down 4 autos and a Q on her, on top of that ignite from Tom.
We should probably mention is that in the midst of that gank top lane, bot lane, there was some action going on, and University of Pennsylvania actually took bot tower from University of Delaware, so that early tower is going to help them out a lot, and it's already 6-0 lead, so Free XP taking some damage there, but yeah, I mean, like, I do definitely get what you're saying, and I feel like University of Delaware is making some really questionable calls in the middle of their team fights, and it's kind of I'm a little unsure as to who is making the calls there, because it seems like they don't really have a lot of direction in these team fights.
Indeed. I mean, honestly, a lot of their decisions feel rushed. Almost like they're just trying too hard to make something happen in the early game. Like they're relying on that to try and get something out of it.
Right. The desperation of the Draven pick is kind of showing there a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, you've seen Delaware try to get certain certain laners ahead, and just almost every time it's backfired. Especially like as you were talking about them taking that tower down there. It was because they already had 4 members in the bottom lane from that gank that they were able to just completely turn around. Talia moved down and they were just able to counter it, like, you're sending 1, we're sending 2. Let's see what happens.
Right. I mean, and looking at the top lane here, right? So we've got Richie Please taking down Rito God Please, or Richie 555. My mistake. Taking down Rito Gods Please in pretty much no time. Rito staying his welcome a little bit too long. It just seems like most of the members of University of Delaware right now are kind of playing a little ahead of themselves. So they're not giving themselves the proper amount of time that their individual champions need to actually get to that that tipping point, right? Like hitting those power spikes. They're not giving their characters enough time to be able to do that before they go in for these like really daring plays.
Yeah, like with the top lane specifically, I mean, you're sitting with a Gnar that doesn't even like, he just had to buy Merc Treads because I believe he didn't have enough to actually get a Black Cleaver, and he doesn't have that yet, and he's trying to fight an Ornn because of the teleport bottom and the failed gank up in the top lane. He had 4 kills already. He has Frozen Art, he has a Catalyst and a Doran Shield along with a Corrupting Potion and Biscuits. Like, he just has so much sustain, so much potential to stay in lane, that he's able to just take what little damage that Gnar is putting across now, and he's able just to hit him with his, he just throws down his Q to try and slow him, hits him with his W, and then just try and waits for the E if he can land it to close the distance. But he's essentially just trying to poke him down bit by bit, and then Rito God Please just ends up overstaying his welcome.
Yeah, and looking at the macro decisions of that, like you were talking about the teleport to the bot lane. Mid lane looks like there's going to be a gank. Bad Juju forced a flash away. Oh, the free XP ulting in, ends up taking out Herson on the backline, but Into the Dusk does take out Bad Juju. In the meantime, free XP might be looking for a little bit more blood, but Into the Dusk now forced to run away from an ulting Jhin. Looks like Michael Kwok going in for a little bit more. Night Stealth coming in to save the day, though, sweeps him to the side and saves their jungler from what could have been a very messy death. Free XP looked like he was ready for that dive until he swung in. Yikes.
Honestly, Trundle definitely put on his happy feet there. He was juking all 3 of those shots. I honestly think it looked like he was about to gank the 4th one before Night Stealth hopped in and just tanked it for him. I mean, obviously the 4th shot definitely would have been a kill, even if the other 3 wouldn't have been, just with the increased damage from his missing health. But I mean,
so many. I mean, it's pretty difficult to dodge the 4th one. At that point, Michael Kwok probably should have been reading him pretty well, but person getting spotted out there. Yeah, I think that would have been death. I like how proactive Night Stealth is trying to be, and getting himself out of the bot lane. He's been trying to take out wards as often as possible. I mean, University of Pennsylvania hasn't been able to get a vision foothold in this bot side at all, which is interesting. You'd think with bot tower being down, there would be a little bit more action going on in the bot side jungle of University of Delaware.
Yeah, I honestly think that they're doing a very good job of making sure that they don't let them abuse that advantage of having taken that tower. Something that I wanted to point out here is that because that tower is gone and the lane was pushed a little bit, they initially sent Jhin down to the bot lane, and we have Tom Kinch kind of wandering around. They did just ping where 2 control wards were. Actually, they've seen all 3 control wards on the side of Delaware. They're going to be taking 2 of them out, definitely trying to set up for this dragon here. They're pinging it. They've taken the Rift Scuttler. It looks like they're going to just try and whittle it down, especially having that Jhin damage. It's really easy for them to take this dragon real fast before Delaware can even realize it.
No time. Gangs in the top lane. Richie 555 getting run through a little bit. Lures the flash away from Rito God Please into the dust. Waited a bit long for that flash, but I appreciate him trying to stick that out a little bit.
I mean, they do, like, I feel like they just almost underestimate him, just in the sense of like how tanky this Ornn actually is. He is going to be using his teleport to get back to lane. He's not going to let them push it. He's not going to let them get that last little bit of damage in to take it to try and even out the towers, which is really good. Like, he's doing really well of staying alive in lane long enough until his teleport can come up. And with the shorter death timers right now, we're only at 18 minutes. The second he spawns, he's already bought everything and he's teleporting on back to lane. And I mean, you can see him, he forced Nara and Trundle both out of lane, and he just shoved into tower. Looks like he's actually going to back. I think that he may have finished, like had enough money to maybe finish up one of his items. No, it just looks like they called a lane swap actually. So Ornn's going to be heading on down to the bot lane with Jhin heading on up to the top. We have Ornn focusing on clearing some of that top side vision. But it is interesting that he did not see that control ward sitting in that river bush.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that he might have decided not to take it. That would normally be my guess, but oh, it looks like 3 members of University of Delaware spotting some shenanigans in the top side because they're already dedicating Trundle. Yikes, but no time. Free XP diving in on Herson in the mid lane, so he's not going to be able to respond to anything. Because it looked like they were University of Delaware was trying to line up for something top lane, but since Herson got caught out mid, there's not anything they can really do with that now.
Yeah, I think they were definitely trying to rely on the fact that Talia had her ultimate up. They were going to try and get her just a quick push that, or clear that wave, and then focus on going back up to the top side.
Over the wall there. Yeah, burst in the flash. That's probably going to come back a little bit later, but they'll get out safely. Yeah, I think you're right. They were kind of hoping that they would have that available. I don't like the positioning up here from, or how far Rito is being shoved back to his tower. That does not look healthy.
Yeah, he's definitely being bullied by almost every single person that they send up in the top lane. Even though
he's just a baby.
He is just gonna give it to him. He's gonna try and focus more on clearing the wave, try and make sure that he's getting that that bit of gold there. He does have his Black Cleaver finished. It looks like he's going for Jerome's Fist into probably like Asterix Gage next. But I mean, we already see Ornn over here. Has his Ninja Tabby, finished that Frozen Heart, has that Abyssal Mask for that extra team damage and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, look at that Abyssal Mask already making some work down here on the bot side. Richie looks like he's now going in on East Coast Carry. Might be able to pick that up. East Coast Carry getting out with just a little bit of health. Will Richie flashed forward, not able to pick anything up for himself though. But Mini Dewey will try to save his support or save his top laner. Now free XP diving into the back line. That is a double kill now coming through for Michael Kwok. Into the dust, charges into the side lanes. Looks like he'll pick up a kill on 2 free XP. But now Michael Kwok forced to flash away from Rito, please. The Rito God please in the back line, but it's not going to be enough because Michael Kwok has the last save. Final bullet landed right in the face of, yikes, a very, very sad Meganar.
Indeed. I mean, he did a really good job of flanking around. I mean, you saw Michael Kwok get down to about 100 HP before he blew his flash and healed to make sure that he survived. And then his team came in, perfect timing after them dealing with, I think, Trundle and pushing him away. They were able to turn right around and make sure that Gnar wasn't able to get to him and just peel him away while he was able to get that last shot down.
Right. I think that's going to be the main difference in this series, is seeing which game has the most communication. Because if you look at starting from the beginning with the failed ganks from University of Delaware, and if you look at the amount of jungle control and gank timings in the mid lane, I think a lot of these games are going to be coming down to which team has the most amount of communication. Honestly, I mean, because if you look at the top lane, or if you look at the mid lane, it looked like Person was doing all right against Bad Juju, but most of where University of Delaware has lost their ground has been in this few of these bad calls and not really being able to pull off what they were looking for. So, Mini Dewey being caught up a little bit. It's going to lose about half of his health. But let's see, does he have anything? He's got his full support item now, but yeah, nothing too bad gonna happen to him. Looks like free XP diving into the back lane is gonna end up picking up a Night Stealth for himself. Into the Dusk, could be in trouble here. There is the Call of the Forge God coming out. Meanwhile, we do have free XP picking up that kill on 2 Into the Dusk. Michael Kwok picking up a final kill onto Person. That gives a major priority over to University of Pennsylvania, but they do have to turn around for Real God Police looking at that top lane turret.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like it's something that they're going to collapse on him after they get this Baron. due to them feeling NAR up there, Delaware may have felt like they had division that would kind of push them away from going for that Baron. Until, I mean, like you're talking about bad calls, you saw that engage there from Into the Dust going almost 1v3 and ulting Vigard, trying to solo him out and do a bit of damage, forcing Herson there to blow his ultimate to try and zone them out and try and almost see what all they could do, but Nocturne going on behind him, almost instantly bursting that Morgana, allowing them just to collapse on him with that Jhin ult coming down. I mean, it was just a bad time overall. You see Night Stealth here just constantly being cut out.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of wondering about just now. Ooh, Call of the Forge God coming out will end up knocking up into the Dusk, who's going very low, ends up having to flash out of the horizon. Ooh, bad juju, flashing forward for a little bit of action himself. Person in the front line now tanking for his team, but now his East Coast carry stuck out in the open will be picked up by Free XP here, who's finding a little Free XP for himself. Yikes. Bad calls all around. Event Horizon ends up going down around the turret. It looks like Into the Dusk not able to survive that as the push continues. From University of Pennsylvania, they will continue just forcing themselves into the base of University of Delaware. This does not look good for them, Hans.
It really doesn't. Luckily enough for Delaware, they were able to poke them down a bit. I mean, we have Orange sitting over here on a boatload of HP and a Warmox anyway, but they do have about a third of their Baron buff on, so it's very good for them to push off after taking that tower, focus on getting everybody reset. We have Nocturne, you know, making sure that he has his buffs here. He was really low on mana whenever he took his blue buff. We're going to be seeing Jhin, I believe, pick up just enough money there to go back and finish his Gunzeus Rageblade. So we're definitely going to be seeing more damage come across for Jhin. We're going to be seeing that Nocturne ult on East Coast carry, making him blow his slash and heal as well. Definitely.
And that takes a lot of power out of what University of Delaware can do in their next play, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're taking out the sums of the ADC, which is essentially Draven's only sense of escape. He has his E, but it's just not going to be able to do too much whenever it comes down to, you know, 4 or 5 people collapsing on him. And that Nocturne ult is going to be up way before his flash and heal.
Right. Remember back to the big ban phase when we were actually talking about the Nocturne pick and what exactly the build was going to be? I was kind of figuring this would probably be it. So it looks like he's favoring the Assassin Nocturne build, and he's making such good use out of it, right? I mean, there's 3 squishies on the side of University of Delaware, so that's 3 targets that Free XP here now with 6 kills and 3 assists, has a lot of availability to just kind of pick off whoever he needs to.
Indeed, I mean, it's also, I feel like it's very good for them that that Free XP was able to get ahead, because I know that the big reason why Nocturne's not played so much necessarily anymore is that it used to be tank Nocturne.
Right.
Gonna be seeing this massive team fight going on.
Yeah, looks like Bad Juju is gonna go ahead and pick up a kill for himself. Free XP here can pick up a double kill, and that is a clean ace coming through for University of Pennsylvania. Yikes. It's just one thing after another with this University of Delaware team, letting so many openings come through for University of Pennsylvania. This is going to be game here as they clean through the base. All 5 members just wrecking through here, taking Nexus. And that is game 1 for University of Pennsylvania, University Delaware.
Indeed,
Yeah,
and it was honestly really hard to keep up with that last team fight. At first, it looked like they were just trying to get a little bit of poke in.